Blazers are one of the more popular sneakers right now, and one of my personal favorites because you got a alignment patch on it, which I love. But we've done a video on this before, but we did it in a time before we started really grading leather and before we started implementing a lot of the tests that we do. And so this video, we're going to focus a lot more on the quality of materials and the leather. And if you haven't seen the previous video, we focus more on like a skate aspect of this shoe to see how many times you could ollie before you wear through the patches and reviewing it that way. So, and that video also has a little bit of the history lesson. So for this video, we're gonna cut it in half, run it through all the new tests that we have to really see if the Nike Blazer is worth the price. And with how many people are wearing it, it's surprising how little people know about what's actually on the inside of the shoe. And this video is brought to you by NordVPN. NordVPN makes browsing online safe and secure with its many features, including threat protection, which offers a safer, smoother online experience. Threat protection not only protects the user's devices, but the actual user themselves, because the ability to block trackers helps the users avoid online spies and stalkers. And a problem that everyone encounters a lot these days is malvertising. Malvertising disguises itself as a simple advertisement, and all you do is click on it and it loads to your computer and sends all your device's information back to that bad party, including your IP address, saved passwords, any information you have on your device, and then that signal travels back to your device with automatically picked malware to potentially infect your device. But using NordVPN's threat protection feature all the time blocks all those malicious ads, especially when visiting unknown websites or unknown Wi-Fi networks. Because that's probably something that you run into that you don't realize is when you're traveling, anytime you connect to random Wi-Fi networks, there's a chance that they can steal your information just by logging into the Wi-Fi. But one of the fun features of NordVPN is it allows you to change your virtual location so that you can watch content and get access to content from around the world that might not be available in your area. They might be the most reoccurring sponsor that we have, and so it's nice that you can get the 4 months for free with the 2-month plan. So check them out via the link in my description, or go to nordvpn.com/RoseAnvil, and it's risk-free because they have a 30-day money-back guarantee. So thanks again to NordVPN. So let's start with the leather first. So Nike is notorious for putting really cheap leather into basically all their sneakers. But what's really flown under the radar is how much fake leather they put in their sneakers. Because for the most part, it would be nearly impossible to tell if Nike was using fake leather from the outside unless you cut it in half or burned it, because they're so good at faking real leather, and because the real leather looks so fake, they're basically identical from the outside. So first, before we even grade the leather, let's burn all these panels and just identify which panels are leather and which are fake leather. So we start with the quarter panels, burned it, those are real. Next to the swoosh, clearly fake. Next to the lineman patch is real leather. The little suede toe bumper here, that's real leather. The rest of the toe, that is also real leather. Then if we go to the back of here, the little back Nike tab, that's fake, and this strip right here is also fake. And on the inside, the lining, we burned that, and that's fake as well. And the reinforced lace stay right here, that's fake as well. So a fair amount of fake leather in a shoe that's over $100. Obviously, like the big panels are still leather, which is really good, but they're just hiding a lot of fake leather in this shoe. So after burning all the layers, you can see that everything but the non-suede has a really heavy plastic coating on top. It just kind of melts away. It's not real leather. And you can double tell that because if you look really closely at this top print, it's clearly embossed into it because those little marks don't go very deep into the leather where the pores usually would be. And it's so repeating and consistent that it's clearly fake. But if we look at the suede, obviously the suede doesnn't have a top coat of plastic because it's suede, and you can really see now how loose the fibers on suede are, and you can see why boot brands and sneaker brands like to use suede in spots with the most wear, because it's more abrasion resistant than just a grain leather because of how loose those fibers are. It would be like trying to shave your head with a razor without trimming your hair down first. You know, it'd be really difficult because of all those loose fibers and stuff to get your actual razor in there and start trimming the hair down. Same concept with suede. There's so many loose fibers, it's actually hard to abrade them off because they're just kind of loose and flowing. And then next we wanted to look at the cross section to see how much grain was in this leather. So we cut a little slit out of it and put the macro lens on it. And as you can see, it does have a little bit of the grain in there, but more importantly, you can see how heavy that coat of plastic is on top of the leather. And then if we look at the cross section of the suede, you can see it's just a true suede. So it's from that lower portion of the leather cross section. So it doesn't have that smooth grain structure on the top that gives leather a lot of its strength and its smooth texture. And that's why work boots use a rough out or a flesh out leather instead of a true suede, because with a rough out or flesh out, all they do is flip the leather around, so the suede's still on top, but the grain still remains on the bottom, and the grain is protected on the inside of the boot, while those loose fibers, those hairs that are hard to trim with a razor, are on the outside, so you get that abrasion resistance. So that's why you almost always see a fabric backer on suede when it's put on shoes, because it needs that structural support of something other than suede, because suede is literally just a bunch of loose fibers that are woven together. So over time, as that moves and shifts, those fibers almost undo themselves and the suede falls apart. And then just for fun, we want to do a puncture test on the leather, and it actually took 103 pounds to puncture through all the layers of the upper. So surprisingly puncture resistant for a shoe. And then to grade this leather overall, I would say it's pretty clearly a C grade leather, because it has that top coat of heavy plastic, it has the fake print, and it has just a little bit of the grain. So it's not quite a D, but it's not even close to a B, if we're being honest. So classic C grade Nike leather. And you might be wondering, why do I prefer real leather instead of fake leather? Well, real leather is stronger than fake leather, because most fake leather, like especially with Nike, uses foam that's just topped with plastic and is occasionally backed with fabric. So you're comparing foam versus leather. Foam's just never going to be as durable. But real leather also just looks better for longer, because fake leather has that plastic coating on top that separates from the foam underneath, giving you little bubbles. It also flakes off really easily, especially with those little bubbles that appear with wear. And it flakes off really easily just from natural abrasion from wearing the shoes. But all those same negative points about fake leather could also be applied to a C grade leather, because it separates just like fake leather, it flakes off just like fake leather, it scratches easily like fake leather, and it's not as durable as a higher quality leather. And more importantly, it doesn't look as good for as long as a higher quality leather. And that kind of brings us to the lining. And like I mentioned in the cutting or the burning, the lining is fake leather through and through, and it's a lot of fake leather. Fake leather for a lining is the absolute worst choice for lining for me, because it doesn't breathe, it doesn't absorb sweat, and if you don't have high socks on, I hate how fake leather rubs against your skin, and it kind of rubs it raw, almost like a carpet burn or a cork burn. It just like rubs off the very top layer of your skin almost. But the rest of the shoe is a fabric backer, but I just hate when shoes do this with the fake leather lining. Like Vans does the same thing, and it's so obnoxious. But if we look deeper inside the shoe does come with a semi-removable insole like that. So just a really cheap foam insole, just topped with like a terry cloth. Nothing special, but not horrible. And then underneath the insole, if you look closely, it's just a really cheap lasting material, and the strobel stitch is super shoddy on this pair actually. And I can already tell underneath, there's nothing underneath that really thin lasting material, and so you're almost directly standing on those honeycombs that make up this outsole that I'll show you when we get it cut in half. And as for the outsole, this is a vulcanized construction, so it's not a cup sole, it's a single unit that is just literally a cup that's attached to the bottom of the shoe. This is an interesting construction. It's more popular with like Converse and Vans, where instead of gluing or stitching on a sole unit, they use uncured rubber foxing tape, which is this little bit that wraps around the shoe. That's a separate piece, and they use that tape to combine the upper and the outsole together, and they wrap that around like you would with a piece of tape, and instead of it being glued on or instead of being stitched on, they finish the curing process of that rubber in basically an oven to bind and bond that rubber foxing tape to the outsole and the upper. And just to keep with our usual standards of testing, we wanted to do a puncture test on the outsole to see how many pounds it takes to pierce through, and it took 66 pounds. So if you're planning on walking around nails, maybe don't wear your blazers. So that's everything we can gather about the shoe before we cut it in half. So let's cut it in half and see if there's anything on the inside that's different from the previous blazers, because maybe they fixed some of the issues we pointed out in that video. So let's cut it in half. All right, we got it cut in half, and let's see what's inside. So unfortunately, my dreams did not come true. The suede patches aren't a true double layer like I was hoping. The previous pair weren't double layered either, but I was just hoping that maybe on the flagship white pairs, they've maybe changed it a little bit. And the insides are really simple and they're pretty expensive for how much fake leather they use in this sneaker. It's just a very Nike way of doing things like, oh, let's put a patch here to make it look like it's more durable, but in reality, it actually just makes it less durable and causes more points of failure. And I get that Nike makes sneakers for casual wear. Not everyone needs all leather, needs them to be durable, and needs double layers of resistance. But these also aren't that cheap of a sneaker. They sell them for $105, and they aren't built any better than like the high top Vans. And I'd argue that for $80, your Vans are gonna be more durable and last longer and are a higher quality sneaker. Because you can get a full suede high top Vans for like $10 or $5 more than their base model. So, to the big question, are they worth the price? They aren't crazy expensive, but they are still over $100. And comparing them to other sneakers, it seems like they're more of like a $75 to $85 sneaker. So not egregiously overpriced, but maybe like $30-ish. So overall, the Blazers are fine, but they're a little bit overpriced. They're a facade of what they could be. They're a facade of quality. They're not as good as they could be, and that bums me out because I'd rather pay 20 bucks and have this be the sneaker it could be instead of Nike blindly just putting out tons of sneakers and nobody holds them accountable. So thank you guys for watching, and let me know what you think and your experiences in Blazers. And speaking of wasting products, we're gonna torch this thing just out of curiosity to see how this would react to lots of flames. So thank you guys. See ya.